The story begins not with a mystery, but with a family. Kevin and Glenys Gosden, committed Anglican Christians living in the quiet suburb of Balby in Doncaster, South Yorkshire. They had two children, a daughter, Charlotte, and a son, Andrew, born on July 10, 1993. The Gosdens were a close, supportive unit. They didn't push their religious beliefs on their children, wanting Andrew and Charlotte to find their own path. At the time of the events that would define their lives, Andrew hadn't been to church in over a year. He was a boy described by his father as a home bird. He preferred the comfort of his own house, his own room, and when he did go out, he was always meticulous about telling his parents where he was going and when he'd be back. His world was small, familiar, and safe. He had been a member of the Club Scouts, but had drifted away from it, his interests turning inward. His family saw him as gentle, clever, and deeply thoughtful, a young man who was mature beyond his years, but also, in his father's own words, absent-minded and not at all streetwise. He attended the Macaulay Catholic High School, where his academic prowess was undeniable. He was part of the prestigious Young, Gifted, and Talented program, a national initiative for students in the top 5% of the country. For Andrew, straight A's were not an achievement, they were an expectation. He was a prize-winning mathematician, and teachers and family alike spoke of a future that seemed destined for Cambridge University. Yet, for all his brilliance, Andrew had a neutral attitude toward school. He had cruised through his education without challenge and reportedly hoped his upcoming year would provide more intellectual stimulation. In the summer of 2006, just over a year before he vanished, he attended a special 2-week residential program at Lancaster University as part of the Gifted program. He returned home enthused and energized by the experience, a brief glimpse of the stimulating academic world he craved. At home, his passions were clear: video games, novels, music of metal bands like Slipknot, Muse, and Funeral for a Friend. He was a quiet boy in a loud musical world, a thinker in a family that loved him deeply, on the cusp of a future that seemed guaranteed. The morning of September 14, 2007, broke with the first subtle crack in the ordinary. The boy of impeccable routine was difficult to wake. When he finally did rise, his parents noted an air of annoyance about him, a mood they described as uncharacteristic. At 8:05 a.m., he left the family home as usual, his school blazer and tie donned, his backpack slung over his shoulder. A family friend, Reverend Alan Murray, saw him cross Westfield Park toward his regular bus stop, an observation that initially anchored the day in normalcy. But this was where the known path ended. Andrew did not board the bus. Instead, he walked to a nearby petrol station with an ATM. There, he withdrew £200, almost all of the £214 in his bank account, since the machine only dispensed funds in £20 increments. Then he performed a deliberate, calculated maneuver. He turned around and walked back home. A neighbor's security camera captured him returning to the now empty house. He had waited for his parents to leave. Inside, he executed a series of quiet, methodical actions. He removed his school uniform, placing the shirt and trousers into the washing machine. He neatly draped his school blazer and tie over the back of the chair in his bedroom. He changed into a pair of black jeans and one of his favorite t-shirts, a black one featuring the logo of the band Slipknot. He packed his gray and black backpack with his PSP, PlayStation Portable, his wallet containing the withdrawn cash, and his house keys. Notably, he left behind £100 in birthday money sitting in his room. He left his passport. He left the charger for his PSP plugged into the wall in his bedroom. At approximately 8:30 a.m., he left the house for the second and final time. The same neighbor's camera recorded him walking along Littlemore Lane past the park, this time heading in the definitive direction of Doncaster Railway Station. The home bird had flown the nest, leaving behind every clue to suggest a normal school day, while taking deliberate steps into the unknown. The journey from intention to action was completed at Doncaster Railway Station. Andrew Gosden, a slight 14-year-old in a Slipknot t-shirt and carrying a modest backpack, approached the ticket counter. He requested a one-way ticket to London King's Cross. The fare was £31.40, which he paid for in cash from the £200 he had withdrawn earlier that morning. The ticket clerk, perhaps out of habit or a sense of value, informed the young boy that for just an extra £1 he could purchase a return ticket, giving him the flexibility to come back. Andrew's response was polite, clear, and utterly final. "No thanks," he said. "I won't be coming back." With that statement, he took his single ticket and walked toward his platform. At 9:35 a.m., he boarded the Grand Central service bound for London. For the next 2 hours, he was a quiet passenger on a busy train. A woman who shared his table seat would later tell investigators that the boy was silent and kept to himself, engrossed in playing a game on his handheld PSP for the duration of the trip. He did not appear distressed, excited, or anxious. He was simply a boy on a train, passing through the English countryside. The train arrived on time at Platform 4 of London King's Cross Station at 11:25 a.m. Here, the official record provides its last concrete piece of evidence. CCTV footage, recovered weeks later, shows Andrew Gosden walking through the ticket barrier and into the bustling main concourse of one of Britain's busiest transport hubs. The grainy, time-stamped images capture him moving with the flow of passengers, a small figure in dark clothing, his backpack visible. He exits through the station's main doors onto Euston Road and turns left, walking out of the camera's frame and into the immense, anonymous sprawl of central London. This visual, frozen at 11:25:07, is the last universally accepted sighting of Andrew Gosden. Back in Doncaster, the slow, dawning horror of Andrew's absence unfolded over the course of that Friday evening. The Gosden family, expecting Andrew to be in the converted cellar playing video games, as was his after-school habit, called him for dinner. There was no answer. A check of his room revealed the carefully placed school blazer and tie, a silent, confusing clue. Finding his uniform in the washing machine deepened the mystery. Frantic phone calls began, to his friends, to his school. The devastating confirmation came quickly. Andrew had never arrived at Macaulay Catholic High School that day. The school had attempted to contact the family about his absence, but had dialed a wrong number. By 7 p.m., with all immediate avenues exhausted and a local search by family and friends yielding nothing, Kevin Gosden made the official call to South Yorkshire Police to report his 14-year-old son missing. The initial assumption, a natural one for worried parents, was that something had happened to him on his short, familiar journey to school. However, the picture began to shift rapidly as the family themselves started investigating. They obtained the neighbor's security footage showing Andrew's return home and his later departure. They went to the train station and spoke to the ticket clerk who delivered the chilling account of the one-way ticket purchase. They even located a passenger who had shared Andrew's train carriage as far as Peterborough. This crucial ground-level legwork in the first 48 hours was largely conducted by the family, not the police. While South Yorkshire Police officially began their investigation, the critical lapse was already in motion regarding the London CCTV. Requesting and reviewing footage from a major hub like King's Cross was a complex bureaucratic process. By the time authorities identified and obtained the footage showing Andrew's arrival, 27 days had passed. In a system where surveillance tapes were routinely recorded over after a short period, this delay was catastrophic. Whole networks of cameras on surrounding streets, cameras that could have tracked which direction Andrew walked, if he entered a shop or if he met someone, had likely been erased. This loss of potential evidence in the vital first hours after his arrival in London created a black hole at the very center of the investigation from which it would never fully escape. In the vacuum left by the missing CCTV footage, the investigation turned to the question of motive. Why would a seemingly content, academically gifted 14-year-old embark on such a solitary, secretive trip? Police and family explored every plausible avenue. One persistent theory centered on music. On the evening Andrew arrived in London, Friday, September 14, 2007, the American rock band 30 Seconds to Mars was performing at the Brixton Academy. Another band, Sixth, a British progressive metal group, was playing a rescheduled farewell show for their original vocalist at the Carling Academy, Islington. Andrew was a known fan of rock and metal. His father, Kevin, later speculated that Andrew might have adopted an easier to ask for forgiveness than permission mindset for a spontaneous concert trip.
investigators publicly appealed for anyone with photos or videos from those specific gigs to come forward, hoping super recognizers could scan the crowds for his face. Another event was also considered. The Finnish band HIM was holding a promotional signing at the HMV store on Oxford Street 3 days later on Monday, September 17. Could he have planned a longer stay to attend that? These were tantalizing leads, but none produced a confirmed sighting or ticket purchase. Simultaneously, the police diligently explored the possibility of an online encounter, a theory that has defined many modern disappearances. This line of inquiry, however, hit a dead end. Forensic examination of the family's only computer, Charlotte's laptop, which she had owned for just 8 weeks, found no evidence Andrew had used it. His school and local library computers were also checked, with no relevant activity found. He did not have an email address. His PlayStation Portable, PSP, and Xbox were not configured for online play. They were used for solo gaming. His sister confirmed he had no interest in social media or chat rooms. Andrew Gosden, in 2007, existed in a peculiarly offline world for a teenager, making a secret digital relationship seem highly improbable. As weeks turned into months, and then years, the active investigation inevitably cooled, but the family's relentless search for answers took on new, heart-wrenching forms. In September 2009, on the second anniversary of Andrew's disappearance, the Gosdens released age-progressed images showing what he might look like at 16, a hopeful yet painful attempt to bridge the passage of time. That same year, Kevin Gosden made a public and deeply personal appeal directly to the gay community, appearing in media outlets to voice a quiet theory that had taken root. He wondered if Andrew, entering his teenage years, might have been struggling with his sexual orientation and found it too difficult to discuss at home. Kevin stressed the family's unconditional love and acceptance, pleading that if this was a factor, Andrew should have no fear in making contact. It was a father's attempt to remove any perceived barrier to his son's return. The search also turned physical. In 2011, 4 years on, the family funded a specialized sonar search of a section of the River Thames in London, confronting the most feared possibility head-on. The scan did locate a body, but it was not Andrew, a result that brought a grim relief. In 2017, the charity Missing People made Andrew the face of their national Find Every Child campaign, placing his image on billboards across the UK, ensuring his face stared out at millions of commuters. Throughout this period, reported sightings trickled in, over 120 in total, from across the country, each one meticulously followed by the family and police, each one ending in disappointment. The most enigmatic of these leads occurred in November 2008, when a man approached the police station in Leominster after hours, used the intercom to say he had information about Andrew Gosden, and then vanished before officers could reach him. A later anonymous letter to the BBC, claiming to have seen Andrew in Shrewsbury, was suspected to be from the same individual, but the trail went cold. These phantom leads underscored the torment of the case, fleeting glimpses of hope that evaporated upon contact, leaving the family in a perpetual state of unresolved anguish.
A profound and shocking shift in the case occurred over a decade after Andrew vanished. On January 11, 2022, South Yorkshire Police announced a major development. They revealed that 2 men, aged 38 and 45, had been arrested in London on December 8, 2021. The men were arrested on suspicion of kidnapping and human trafficking in connection with Andrew Gosden's disappearance. The 45-year-old man was additionally arrested on suspicion of possessing indecent images of children. This news was a seismic event for the Gosden family and the public following the case. It was the first time in over 14 years that named individuals had been formally linked to the investigation. The police stated that electronic devices had been seized from the men during the arrests, and that the forensic analysis of this digital material was a complex process that could take 6 to 12 months to complete. This detail pointed the investigation toward a previously unexplored and disturbing possibility that Andrew's journey to London may have ended not in a chance accident or personal choice to disappear, but in a prearranged meeting with individuals who meant him harm.
The men were subsequently released on bail pending that forensic examination, but they remained official suspects in an active investigation. This development forced a painful reevaluation of every previous theory. It lent a grim weight to the fears about Andrew's vulnerability and his lack of streetwise caution. For his family, it was a double-edged sword, a potential path to the truth they had sought for so long, but one leading into a darker narrative than they might have ever imagined. The long wait for answers entered a new phase, focused on the secrets held within hard drives and mobile phones, as authorities painstakingly searched for any digital fingerprint linking these men to the quiet boy from Doncaster who bought a one-way ticket in 2007. Today, the mystery remains, a story suspended between hope and grief. Andrew Gosden, if he is alive, is now a man of 30 years. His family continues to live in the same house in Balby, Doncaster, a decision rooted in a profound, unwavering hope. They have stated they cannot leave, because if Andrew were to ever return, that is where he would know to find them. The emotional toll has been severe and enduring. Kevin Gosden suffers from crippling anxiety, depression, and PTSD, openly writing about the struggle to function under the weight of not knowing. Charlotte, Andrew's sister, speaks of him in the present tense, a linguistic testament to her enduring hope, but she also voices the agonizing fear that she could walk past her own brother on a street today and not recognize the man he's become. In their garden, a living memorial grows, the oak tree Andrew planted as a child in an experiment to see if it would mature while confined. It has, and it now produces acorns, a bittersweet proof of his curious mind. The family's public plea remains simple, direct, and heartfelt. On their blog, a message is always present, addressed to Andrew himself. It assures him of their unconditional love and pride, pleading with him to make contact regardless of his circumstances or the years that have passed. They ask the public to keep sharing his story, to keep his image in mind, and to support charities that help missing people and their families. The arrests in 2021 introduced a tangible, if troubling, thread to pull, but as of now, the analysis of that digital evidence has not yielded public answers. The case of Andrew Gosden endures as one of the UK's most haunting disappearances, a story that began with a single deliberate train journey and evolved into a decades-long puzzle of human vulnerability, investigative challenges, and a family's immeasurable resilience in the face of an echoing silence. What do you guys think happened to Andrew? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. As always, if you enjoy true crime content like this, do well to subscribe and also drop a like if you enjoyed today's episode. Thank you for your time. I will be seeing you on our next episode.